Congratulations on such a successful marathon. You placed seventh. You were 45 seconds from qualifying for the games. Tell me what that experience was like.
It was a huge learning experience, actually. The marathon, I think, honestly, is like different every time for everybody. And
Mhm.
it was also this like really incredible experience to be in such a deep field of women with so much talent. I had a lot of respect for that. And I realized that kind of like I had goals going in to be top 10. And then, as the gun was going off, I was like, this is going to be the hardest top 10 like I've ever accomplished because the women here are just incredible and have accomplished a lot of incredible things. And so, yeah, it was a awesome experience. The marathon's great. Your legs should feel good for at least 20 miles, and my legs felt good for 18. So then it just got hard from there, and it was then I was grateful I didn't make the team. But no, but
So
it was fun.
you talk about at that 18-mile mark or 20-mile mark, right? Where that's like when you're feeling good, and then you kind of have to break into this like survival mode, maybe? Like, what is it that like how do you mentally, like where did you go mentally for those last 8 miles?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so my coach always says he's like you can't go anywhere mentally if you're not there nutritionally. So you can dig as hard as you want, but if your body's not giving you anything, like then it doesn't matter how tough you are, you're gonna be done. And so I think that is like the whole goal of the race is like setting yourself up nutritionally. And that was tricky because like you feel so good in the beginning. The timing of this race was that so that it was pretty manageable weather in the beginning, but the last hour got pretty hot. And so I think a lot of people were kind of having to navigate or suffer through the nutritional and like sodium deficits that were happening. So it's more that. And so mentally, yeah, you kind of have to be like, okay, am I staying like in a zone that I can control and like I'm not digging myself in a hole where I'm just gonna like drop off and be like some people like made it to mile 24 and they're like, I'm done. So it's really being in a manageable spot and it's kind of fun to have to like be like, okay, I can do this. And it's a roller coaster as well. Like you're like, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. And then all of a sudden you get some food and you're like, I can do this. I think I'm alive. So it's a funny marathon's a funny thing like that.
And you are, I mean, you obviously have accomplished a lot in running, but specifically more in like the 5K, 10K, and marathons are relatively not new
Yeah.
to you, but you're newer to the sport. What was your strategy going into this 26.2?
Yeah, it was definitely to take cues off of people who are more experienced than I was. The strategy was, uh, I actually didn't follow the strategy exactly as I should have.
We won't tell anyone.
Yeah, I was fortunate. My legs felt a little bit better than we thought they would. The strategy was kind of to like hang back and let kind of the big hitters fall off, and then pick them off at the end. And I ended up kind of going with plan B of the strategy of like my legs feel really good and I'm gonna like learn how to race up front like with these women, and that was like a really valuable experience for me. So yeah, again though, being in that like front group, like taking cues off the women of like how good you can kind of tell how good everyone's feeling. And that was also like something that was going through my head a lot is like no one's suffering more than someone else. Like we're all hurting just as much as like the other person. Yeah, it was good to learn from a lot of the girls who did have experience and were good at managing their energy and staying relaxed with them is a good feeling.
I like there that you bring up kind of the B strategy, because so many times I think in running, we hear like the A plan, the B plan, the C plan, and like the D plan, which is like
Yeah.
survive, like make
Yeah,
it
hopefully
through,
we
like
don't get
do
to.
what you need to do. But it's cool to hear that for you, it was the B plan that worked for you. And like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a worse day. Cause in this case, it sounded like that was a better day
Maybe.
than the A plan, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because like you have Heather McLean who did kind of like the strategy I wanted to do, and she came in fourth. But like I said, like I don't think I like have like any like regrets about this race, and I learned so much from like I've never been in that experience of like running with the lead pack and learning how everyone surges and navigates that part, and then just like feeling that energy was really invaluable to me. And I guess what I'm saying is like I'm happy with how the race went, but I'm sure I could have raced better. Like
But
it wasn't
the coulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? We're always going to have
yeah,
that,
right,
especially
right.
as the
Yeah.
elite athlete that you are, right? I want to go back to qualifying to race this.
Sure.
Because I mean, you're 10 months postpartum with your
Yes.
second, and you started training during your pregnancy, right? Like you called Ryan and it was like, after I give birth, we're going to
Yeah.
train together. And he's like, no.
He's like, we're starting now. Yeah.
So
Uh,
what was to qualify for this? Because this, if my understanding is like, this was the goal, was to race the Olympic trials marathon. So, but you had to qualify for that. So what was the
right.
race back in, what was it, November?
October. Yeah.
October. What was
Yeah.
racing that like for you?
Yeah. That's a good, so I mean, I did have the marathon trials in mind, right, when I called up Ryan, but it's like that kind of slides to the back. I wasn't like thinking about that a ton my pregnancy. Like I think the main focus was and always is kind of like to see um like what potential comes out just by like performing at like a high level and like consistently trying. And so with, like during pregnancy, where things got hard, I don't know. Yeah, like you do get to like look back and think about that goal. Going back to the McCurdy, things didn't quite come together the same way, especially after my first. I felt like I came back a lot quicker with just moving forward with training and being able to be healthy and start training again. And with the second one, I didn't get to nap whenever I wanted, right? Because I have a 2-year-old I'm coming after. And so the recovery was like a little bit slower. I was still running again, but the times just weren't clicking quite as much. So running that first marathon was actually really scary for me, because I knew like the preparation wasn't perfect, right? And not that I was to be perfect, but I knew I wasn't like doing everything I could be doing for it to be clicking. And then also I'd only ran the New York before that, where I'd completely bonked off of like not getting my nutrition. And so ran that marathon very cautiously, like just get to mile 20 feeling really, really good. And I had a lot left at the end of that marathon. I ended up running like a ton of it by myself. And so it just like, I didn't really get to like push that next level. But anyway, yeah, it was hard. That way, it was hard. But there was a lot of preparation, a lot of little things that I was like, the consistency I knew would be there. Even if it like we talked about with the A, B, and C race, if you're doing things consistently, like even your C race is going to be good. And maybe it's not your A day, but like if you feel prepared, like your C race will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting there to talk about kind of the coming back from your first pregnancy and then getting back into running after your second pregnancy. I've never had kids, so I can't speak from experience here. However, I would assume that running pregnant and running postpartum, there has to be a strong connection with your body and understanding what you're capable of, where the boundaries are to push and where to pull back. And that's something that I think had kind of worked on earlier in your career too, to understand your body. Can you talk about how valuable learning your body earlier in your career helped you during during the pregnancy and then postpartum?
That's a great question. And so I will go back to this, where I feel like I am a very good sleeper. And I've also spent a lot of years like going into my nutrition and kind of what I'm sensitive to and how to kind of lower inflammation in a sense, like from nutrition. And so I bring that up because I think sometimes like we say this, like, listen to your body and like things will work out. But it's like, if you didn't sleep last night, like your body's not going to be sending you the same signals as if like you slept 8 hours. And that, like when your body's on, then it's like, those are the times to listen to your body. But like if your body's depleted, if you just ate like donuts after your workout, then like your body's missing protein that is not like helping you. And of course, you're going to want more donuts because like you haven't fulfilled that protein deficit. So, so going back to like what you were saying, like being able to be in tune with your body, I think like a huge part of that is first setting yourself up for success to be in tune with your body. I even with the pregnancy, like I was really into lifting and like fortifying my body in college. And that played over the years, like, so 5 years after college, when I'm like having a baby, that lifting like is still like playing into effect of like having a healthy and like sustainable pregnancy where I can like listen to my body because it's strong enough to like do the training I'm like asking of it. Then, yeah, like you said, I learned a ton after my first child, like understanding like, is this pushing too fast or is this not pushing too fast? Is this a red flag pain or is this something that we can kind of work through? And that also happened from like exploring my options of people who are really helpful, like a pelvic floor specialist. And I went to go see one after the second one this time to be like, and she pointed me down different directions that could help, which was really helpful. And then this is maybe another reason why things have gone a little bit better. I've gotten to be like faster in a sense from the first one because I know I'm not as cautious, I guess, because I like understand the tones of my body of like when it's telling me it's a red flag, green flag, or yellow flag. That's been really helpful. So
that's such a valuable thing. And I'm so glad that you brought up the listen to your body comment, because I feel like that happens so often when people are talking about nutrition or talking about workouts. They're like, just listen to your body. And you're like, if I knew what my body was telling you, I wouldn't be asking this question.
Well, and it's so funny because running is seriously both of those things. Like on the recovery days, right? It's like constantly like listen to your body, listen to your body, listen to your body. And then on race day, everyone's like, don't listen to your body, just like hammer, like just go, and it's like, so it's about finding the balance between the two, right? Like of what signals in your brain are just trying to save you because like that's the way we're built as humans, or like what signals in your brain are actually like, they're like, you are doing damage right now, please stop.
Right. Right. And so I have to bring up when you were 9 months pregnant with your daughter and you ran the 5:25 mile, which I think is so funny because it started as like this good spirited bet with your husband, right? Like you weren't trying to prove anything to anyone except you were trying to get $100, right?
Yeah, right. I was just like, I can stay in shape. It'd be great.
So what did you learn from that experience? I mean, other than like breaking the internet and having people be wildly impressed with your abilities, but what did you learn about yourself?
Yeah, my husband and I talk a lot about this like reality that we live in. And I think that was like a huge learning experience for me, like where I was living in this reality that seemed so normal to me. I had no idea that it was like so adjacent to like other people's reality of like what pregnant women should be doing. I was just like, this is the way I'm like living my life. So like with my running, kind of living in a very like honest reality, it shifted to that, right? Where how to explain this? That it's not like you're a liar, right? Like you're not like outright lying, but I think sometimes we justify things. We justify a lot. That's like totally just human nature. And I was a huge justifier, self-sabotager, like constantly being like, well, like I ate this whole box of cookies, like, so of course, like my workout wasn't that good. And then if I did eat the box of cookies and my workout was good, it's like, well, I ate a whole box of cookies and I had this good workout. So it's like you're constantly like having this excuse in your back pocket kind of thing, or like, I didn't sleep that well last night, or like this, and they're real excuses, like they're
Yeah.
real justifications. And so that kind of was like addressing the honest reality of what I was justifying, and being like, okay, how can we actually make this not a justification, and we're going to be like vulnerable here and be like as prepared as possible, and not be scared of the outcome of like our best effort kind of thing.
Not scared of the outcome of your best effort. That's a scary thing when you
It
think about
is.
it.
Yeah. Like,
That's a really scary thing.
yeah. And I think a lot of people are just like underdeveloped in their potential because of that. Like, no matter what, I like that'll continue to be something like I have to work through, as being like, hey, am I like showing up with my best here? And like, is my best not gonna be good enough? And that's okay. Like, I'm not gonna be the best in the world. That's okay.
And that doesn't mean you have to try any less or any harder or whatever,
Yeah,
right? It's just that
right,
that
right.
is the reality. So I want to kind of go back here a little bit to your love of the sport. A lot of people say, well, when I have kids, especially female athletes, right, have this timeline. Once I start having kids, things look different. Fortunately, in our generation, people like you are rewriting that narrative for so many. When did you know that you loved running
That's such a
so
good
much?
It's such a good question, because it wasn't a single point in time. Like, it's something that had to be like reiterated from high school till now. Like in high school, it was kind of like, why am I doing this to myself? I think that was kind of like the question that kept coming up. Like, why am I doing this to myself? And it's like, what do I really enjoy about this? And having to like really self-reflect on that. And in high school, I mean, there was a huge team aspect, right? And then in college, I was like so curious about my potential, and I just wanted to know so badly, like how well I could perform. And then, post college, and this like continued to develop, where I I started to separate like my worth from running. And I found like the more that separated, the more joy I got out of running, because it was more of just like a what if, like what could happen, why not? Like, I like who I am when I'm running, I like who I'm becoming. And I can take running away and like still be me and have like a lot of worth and things to offer this world. But like, I'm choosing to do this, like to offer things through running. So that kind of like, I think I can think of like turning points where my mom was like, you should just quit. Like, you should just be done. Like, don't, like, where I'm crying, like I'm so upset about running. She's like, just be done. Like, you don't have to keep running. And I had to reflect and be like, I know I do. Like, I want to be doing this. And like the
Mhm.
people I'm connecting with, like I met such great people entering the club scene post college, where I wasn't sponsored as a pro, but you're just running with like the community basically. And like those are lifelong friends that I'm gonna have forever. And just yeah, like I mentioned before, like the person I was becoming, that really like kind of kept solidifying how much I loved what running was like revealing and building me to be.
How did you do that? How did you even begin? Because I think so many athletes are after that, right? They're
Yeah.
especially
Right.
like you hear collegiate athletes, all of a sudden they're not pursuing the sport professionally. And
Mhm.
they all of a sudden are like, who am I without this? And
Yeah.
I
Right.
love that you were able to do both, to find your worth outside of the sport and continue to do it. Was there any, I hate to say, was there a secret to it?
Yes.
But was there like, did you start doing other things that you like found joy in that supplemented? How did you
Right.
accomplish that?
Yeah. I mean, like that partially started happening right like when I was in college, and that separation a little bit, right? Like I yeah, I had like things outside with my family, but then also having kids was like a huge thing that like solidified my worth like as a mom, where
Mhm.
um yeah, like I mean not worth as a mom, because like again, like that's not going to be your full worth. Like, you have more to offer. But yeah, like knowing that was like building something that's kind of like a the I always use this word and I feel like it's starting to become cliche, but that like fulfillment that you feel. It's like you feel just so much fulfillment when you're creating. And that's like with kids, that's with your work, that's with your art, that's with music, like sports, like those, that's a life of creating. And I think you're going to get me down this hole, but like with like social media, that's like a life of consuming. And I think that's a lot of times why we feel like this emptiness, because we are meant to be creating and we're meant to be like connecting and creating.
What do you hope that they learn from watching their mom chase her dream while being a mom to them?
You know what's funny? I actually like don't want them to even know anything.
What
I
do you mean
think
by that?
I don't want them to know that their mom was a professional runner. Like no, that'll end up happening for sure. I think a lot of moms think like, oh, like I need to be performing at this high level and whatever they're doing, so my kids respect me or whatnot. And I mean, there is a level to that, right? Like where your kids see what you're doing. I don't think they care so much about the results and the outcome as they see the process. Or they see that mom's being intentional. They see that like mom, yeah, is working towards something. And I do want them to see that, but I also want them to cultivate like their own identity with their success. Like it doesn't have to do with my success. They're not going to be successful because I'm successful. Like they're going to be successful because they feel loved and like they feel, and that we've like set them up with like good values and good habits. Like hopefully, right? We're not perfect by any means. They're going to feel a lot more success in life, going after things, like not trying to be not worrying about what me or their dad accomplished. So yeah, I guess if anything, like the intentionality of living life and like creating a story for yourself is what I want them to learn from all
I
this.
love that you mentioned there the process and the intention, because I see, you post these photos of your husband riding a bike with your kids with you. And to me, that's it feels like the value there is family and time spent together,
Yeah.
which is really cool to see.
Yeah.
That you're incorporating them in your world in that way without, it sounds like, without saying we're out here because we're going to qualify. We're out here
Yeah.
because we're together.
And we enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I do think that too. Like I want them to know like their mom and dad like enjoy life and have like a awe and amazement for life. And I want them to have that because that just makes life so much more fun.
So much more fun.
Yeah, right. Anyway, it's good.
So you also talk about the community and finding the community post college in running. And that's so important. And I know that so many people who aren't professional runners who have found running have found community in that. We kind of call it like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but people call like you have your friends and then you have your runner friends.
Yes.
Like there's a clear
Oh,
distinction.
yeah, totally. We even have
Like,
that in the professional world. I'm like, I guess I don't really hang out with you. We just go running together.
yeah. And we'll talk about anything, like nothing's
Yeah.
off the table.
That's so
And
great.
I know I read that during, I think it was your first race back after your daughter, and
Okay.
Molly Seidel kind of gave you was your hype woman to get you through. And I want to ask about this because I think that people look at competitive running, professional runners, and it can look like such an isolated sport and that you're running against each other. But there's a lot of community there that we don't see that does exist. Can you speak a little to that?
That's so funny because Molly actually had some like very key things to say to me in this build that has helped like me address the marathon because she was like so experienced. So when we'd go running and stuff, like she's very social. She loves to run with everyone. And so we would go run every once in a while. And yeah, she's had like a lot of really good advice. But and every like so I'm in Flagstaff where there's just like a lot of elite women. We're all sponsored by different people. And there's a ton of community of supporting each other. And what I think is so fun is like and this is like even in this marathon that I just ran, like a huge mindset for me was like, I can't run this fast without these women. Like this, so one of my favorite things is what competition means. Like the root word is to like seek honestly together. And that's like what competition is you're seeking honestly together, like to the line. And like, I'm not going to be able to seek like my boundaries, like my limits, my like into deeper levels of myself, like without Emily Durgeon, pressing me from behind or or in front of me, or like watching Sarah Hall in front of me. Yeah, these women who yeah, we get to compete against, we get to like really work together to see like what level we can get to. And honestly, like that's why the depth of the American women right now is like so incredible, I think, because that's been contagious. That's like been filtering through everybody being really supportive of each other, and everyone's like finding new bests because of that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well,
it's less scary to show up to the line when you're like, we're all working together. This is great.
100%. So we love Molly here in Boston because she used to be a barista here in Boston.
Yes.
I mean, we love Molly for other reasons as well. However, we'd like to claim her a little bit as ours.
You should. She's a lovable person. She's great.
She's hard not to love, right?
Yeah.
What advice did she give you for the marathon?
It might be a secret.
It might be a secret. Okay.
I'm totally kidding. No, she's just, I mean, she's just giving me like talking about like energy management again, and like how to use as little energy as possible until you have to. It's kind of the secret of the marathon.
Which I hope you know that everyone watching you guys compete, when you say little energy, you're doing everyone's like full out sprint for 26.2 miles. So it's all relative.
Interesting. Yeah, right. But yeah, just like staying as relaxed as possible, and knowing like when people come back to you, she's just like, she's a really good racer. Molly, as you know. Yeah, everyone.
I love that. Yeah. So as we look ahead here, what is next for you?
So I will be doing the 10K and the 5K for the Olympic trials. I say I will be doing, I haven't. So you have to run a time to qualify for the trials. So I've been pregnant since that window opened. So I have to run a qualifying 5K and 10K time to go. But yeah, hopefully I'll be competing there in June. And that's kind of the next thing. Chase some A standards.
Awesome. And as we wrap up here, I ask everyone if there is a mantra or saying that they lean on to get through tough runs, tough days in life, anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I have quite a few. It's like, which one do I share? I feel like I have like a lot of, yeah, I mean, gosh, it's hard to share this because it's like, it's nothing special, like with mantras. But I really think, like, I tell myself to like relax constantly, and like to not just like relax like mentally, but it's like to show it in my body. I'm like, relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax, your arms, like when you're moving. What do I even say to myself?
It's hard. I find that a lot of people like, it's in the moment, right? Like, it's like, what do I say? It's like whatever it calls for.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'm thinking that because of my child. I'm always telling her like, relax our bodies. We're all relaxing. It's not helpful unless we're relaxed.
But that's sometimes a reflection. I think that that's like, so it kind of circles back to the beginning of this conversation when talking about knowing yourself, and like you can feel when you need to just relax.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's actually, so it is true too, because I was thinking like at the end of this last race, I'm like, you just need 80%, because there's this like 80% rule where you think you're going 80%, but really you're going 100% but it feels like 80% because you're relaxed. It's like, anyway. Yeah. So if you tell your athlete, you're like, I just want you to go 80%, they actually are like really efficient because they're relaxed at like a hard effort. Instead of like, if you tell them to go 100% and they're like tense and they like are like, go 100%, they're not, they could run like relatively similar times. So
That's interesting. All right, 80%. Approach everything with
relax.
80%.
It's a big deal to be relaxed and relax into the pain.
Relax into the pain.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. Congratulations. And we look forward to all that's to come for you, Makenna. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.